This is Colin O'Keefe here for LXBN TV. As everyone should be well aware at this point, despite it being legal in many states across the country now, employees can still be fired for marijuana use. The thing is, there might be some exceptions. Joining me now to explain from Washington, D.C. is attorney Larry Postal of Seyfarth Shaw and author on the firm's blog, Employment Law Lookout. Larry, again, first, it's widely known that in most instances, even in states where it's legal, employees can be fired for off-duty marijuana use. But in your post on the subject, you highlighted a couple instances where that, might not be kosher. Can you explain what those are?
Sure. So it's basically anywhere the employee is not subject to just being an at-will employee. So the two biggest times that would probably happen is under a union contract, since most union contracts only allow someone to be fired for just cause, and some managers, higher level executives may have their own employment contract, and usually those contracts provide that you can only be fired for just cause. And then the question is whether off-duty marijuana use would be just cause.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, if it's at will, people can be fired for this, but there are instances where it isn't at will. And then second, also in your post on the subject, you highlighted a couple other interesting cases, one involving workers' compensation and another on unemployment benefits. How could marijuana potentially impact those two things, or how has it in the cases that you mentioned?
Okay, so there was a Michigan case where an employer, like many government contract employers, they have a drug-free workplace policy. So if you ever test positive, you're fired. And in fact, they fired some employees, not because they had any performance problems, but because they tested positive, presumably for off-duty use. They then filed for unemployment comp, and the Unemployment Commission said they're entitled to unemployment compensation because generally you get unemployment compensation unless you did some, basically gross negligence, and since the off-duty use was actually legal, the commission felt that wasn't a basis for denying them unemployment compensation, even though it was a legal reason for firing them. On the workers' compensation setting, where it came up is workers' compensation pays for medical care for work injuries, and there was a worker who had chronic pain. Instead of taking legal narcotic medication, he was using medical marijuana to alleviate his pain. And over the insurer's objection, the Workers' Comp Commission said the employer had to pay for it because a doctor prescribed it and said this is appropriate medical treatment.
It's an interesting area to watch, though it is still illegal on the federal level, despite its legality in some states. It's a major gray area, and employers have to make sure that they're treating it as one that isn't black and white. Once again, that was Larry Postal of Seyfarth Shaw. For more of his insight on this subject, be sure to check out his blog post on it. It is at laborandemploymentlawcouncil.com. Thank you for joining me today, Larry.
Thank you.